Hello, my fellow quarter life crisis fighters, sandwich generation, whatever you name it. As a group of society trapped between two generations, what do you think are the differences between the older generation and the newer generation in this modern era? Let's discuss one of them. But I won't tell you what it is, you guess it. Here's some of the phenomenon. Do you realize that in big cities like Jakarta, most of them don't really know the neighbors where they live, whether they live in apartments or housing complexes? Most do not socialize intensely with their neighbors. And the same goes to today's teenagers. Since they are still living with their parents, they usually feel so tired being invited by their parents to join social gatherings or neighbor gatherings. Or if they have guests at home, it's definitely better to hide in their room, right? It is very different from the people of our parents' generation, where all the things that are in the other person, they must notice. Like how the younger people are very annoyed because they are always asked by their uncles or aunts in family gatherings, "Why are you so fat now? Do you even wash your face? Where are all those pimples coming from? When are you gonna get married?" Well, yes, this is one of the example of phenomenon that is happening today, and it has become culture in this modern era. Individualistic culture. Individualistic culture is a society which is characterized by individualism, which is the prioritization or emphasis of the individual over the entire group. Individualistic cultures are oriented around the self and being independent instead of identifying with a group mentality. They see each other as only loosely linked and value personal goals over group interests. Well, there are a few common characteristics of individualistic cultures, including: first, being dependent upon others is often considered shameful or embarrassing. 2. Independence is highly valued. 3. Individual rights take center stage. 4. People often place a greater emphasis on standing out and being unique. 5. People tend to be self-reliant. 6. The rights of individuals tend to take a higher precedence. And how does this individualistic cultures arise? Individualist cultures value personal success, self-esteem, and distinctive attitudes and opinions. That is one of the important factors. That's why in Jakarta, this culture is quite high. Jakarta is now a city destination to find work, right? Hustle culture. Over the past several decades, time spent doing leisure activities has dropped while working hours have increased. Like in Jakarta or United States, where this individualistic culture is currently the highest. They often see work as a means of self-actualization, with career guides suggesting them to follow their passion and focusing on self-growth. Well, as a quarter-life crisis fighter, I believe you've been hearing these words literally everywhere. And this goes the same to the teenagers with their school life too. They are always told to have good grades and prepare for their careers. That is when their individualism starts to form. One example of good changes that exist in individualistic culture in this modern era is the emancipation of women. Women are now more independent, right? And they can support their own needs. They no longer have to depend entirely on men like in the past. It's all because of the individualism. So, the question is individualistic culture a good sign or a bad sign to the society? Before that, individualistic is often compared with collectivist. In contrast to individualism, which values the self over the group, collectivism values an emphasis on cohesiveness among individuals and prioritization of the group over the self. Individualistic typically reflect the Western ideals like United States or Germany, while collectivists reflect Eastern ideals like Indonesia, Malaysia, China, and Korea. since both are having different idealism. Thus, the individualistic culture is perceived differently as well. And through globalization, individualistic culture has penetrated into Eastern countries as well, especially in this modern era, causing a lot of incompatibility of the culture identity of the Eastern. The thing is, individualistic culture focuses on the autonomous and rationality, uniqueness, independence, and self-sufficiency, which are a good thing for a progressive society. But an overly individualistic behavior can also bring negative impacts. A totally individualistic society can be harmful and unsafe. This is what the collectivists are aware of the individualistic culture. When someone does something that does not go along with the culture of the society, they will think of them as a selfish person. Individualism may cause a person to not care about the environment and around them and act as he pleases. The individualistic system can also result in high social mobility, which will lead to high social anxiety. This individualistic culture can actually be elaborated. Whereas, if they want to implement an individualistic lifestyle, as an individual itself, they should also understand other individuals so that we can focus on ourselves and respect each other with their own uniqueness. No need to be indifferent to each other, but to respect and understand each other. Then, if people is in a place that has different values and ideals from them, it is important that they should still respect the local culture despite the differences they have over value and idealism. So, what do you think? Are you pro-individualistic culture?